Welcome back.
Why are you laughing?
Well, we said we were going to Abia, but no, we have to go up north first and then come back to the southeast. We're off to Taraba right now. We're looking at the elections in Taraba. And all of this, there seems to be a general thread going through the elections in all these places that have to have either reruns or supplementary elections. The APC says that INEC should set aside its declaration that the governorship election in Taraba was inconclusive. According to the party, what ought to be done for INEC is for INEC to cancel the results altogether in 11 local government areas. And these local governments are Wukari, Kurmi, Yoro, Karim Lamido, Ado Kola, Sadauna, Zing, Bali, Lao, Donga, and Takum. That those elections should be cancelled and supplementary elections be held. And, well, alleged irregularities, which seem to have been widespread, were non-use of card readers, destruction of the machines, non-accreditation of voters, subversion of the rights of the people to exercise their franchise, and the kidnap of electoral officers by the PDP with the help of security agencies.
As you said, there's a thread running through. Just to keep going.
But these crimes are...
They're punishable by law, I believe, and it will go by the Electoral Act.
Anyway, we have in the studio, we have with us in the studio in Lagos, Mr. Emmanuel Bello, who is the Commissioner for Information in Taraba State. He used to be our friend.
Exactly.
Good morning and
your friend.
welcome.
We'll have to check that out.
Nice to see, pleasure seeing you again.
And with him is Mr. Rebo Usman, who's the Commissioner for Economic Planning. Good morning.
Nice to meet you again.
And joining us from Abuja, from our Abuja studios, is...
He's not there yet, but the Commissioner... Oh, sorry, that's the Commissioner. The Chairman of the All Progressives Congress.
Is joining us from Abuja. And I'm sure that Mr. Idu will have a few things to say about all this that's going on here as well. Now, Mr. Bello, in your opinion, how did the elections go in Taraba?
Well, let me start off by saying that, like every other state, we had an election. And in fact, I would say it was one of the, if you look at elections across the states that held that kind of election, Taraba had a fantastic election, you know, because there was never a time people were so convinced that they need to come out and cast their vote and determine the future of the state, like at the time they did in this election. So yes, we had a great election, and clearly the PDP candidate, actually Dero Sishako, was, you know, at the end of it all, was in a very far lead, and this was the point where the APC panicked and decided, first and foremost, to begin to ask for all sorts of cancellations of results. And those who were in the collation center in Jalingo were shocked at the behavior of the returning officer, one Professor Mohamed Kari. This man, you know, was busy cancelling results like that was what the job he was asked to come and do in Taraba. But with all that cancellation, and in some of the cancellation, we saw a very funny situation where a whole local government, just because of what happened in 5 units of 165 units, what happened in just 5 units that the returning officer complained about, this returning officer cancelled the entire local government. And that was the basis or the beginning of crisis. Because, and yet, this will shock the whole country. With even that cancellation, which was bizarre, which is unwanted, which is unwarranted, with that kind of bizarre cancelling of an entire local government result, the PDP candidate was still leading by a very far margin of 54,813 votes.
Is it true that your party was kidnapping electoral officials?
Well, that is definitely not true. And if there were such reports, those reports were made by the returning officer, the local government returning officer made reports. And where units where they have problem, those units were cancelled. That's probably the proper thing to do. But to go ahead and cancel an entire local government in that exercise was beyond the purview of the
local government is this?
It's called Donga local government.
Donga.
Yes. But it has 165 units. And the entire, if you have allowed that result,
It's in the list.
yes, if you have allowed that result to go in, we won't be saying all these things we're saying. We're at this stage today now.
The matter now is, yes, you said Donga local government, but the APC is asking for cancellations in Wukari, Kurumi, Yoro, Karim Lamido, Ardo, Kola, Sedona, Zingbali, but you're just saying Donga.
Donga is there.
Yeah, I know. You're saying one local government, 5 units, issues in 5 units cause the cancellation of elections in one local government. But what about all the other local government areas? What are the other issues there?
Can I speak?
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, I'll be talking to you from an informed position about what happened at the collection center. I was the PDP agent at the collection center at the state level. Results from local governments coming in met me there. And throughout the collection exercise, I observed one thing. I observed that the APC, instead of going out to arrange for their supporters to come and vote for them in the process of the elections, were busy writing petitions and putting in place allegations that they will come up with at the final collection center. Because if all these things that they keep talking about, kidnappings here and there, actually took place, nobody would have brought in results to the collection center at the state level. We are only aware of an incident in Sedona local government where there was an attempt by them to kidnap the local government returning officer, but unfortunately, it didn't work out. The man, through the assistance of security agencies, was able to escape and come down with his results. And when they discovered that the returning officer had got back to Jalingo with his report, that they went ahead and destroyed houses of prominent PDP people in Gembu, Nasarawa State. Sedona local government. The house of the SSG was completely razed down with 7 cars. So sometimes I wonder why APC would go and do a thing and quickly run back and tell the press that it is a PDP. It's, just as my colleague said here, it's bizarre. But that is not my problem. My problem was the conduct of the returning officer at the collection center. It was shocking. Really, really shocking. What I saw there, please, if you will allow me, I'll give you a vivid picture of what happened about the cancellation of Dongo local government.
In 2 seconds.
Yeah. Professor Kyari, a professor and a serving vice chancellor of a university in Nigeria, was the returning officer for Taraba State. When the returning officer from Donga arrived with his report, made his presentation, he clearly stated that there were issues with 5 polling units, which he, at his own level, had cancelled. Thereafter, he told stories of things that happened while he was there, especially in one of the other wards called Sunte Ward in Donga local government. Now, having presented his story, we expected that Professor Kyari, who was the returning officer for collection of results, should have just collected the results of areas that were not cancelled. But instead, he made a pronouncement right away after this man had, in fact, the scores had been recorded. After the scores had been recorded, he now made a presentation based on the stories told about one of the wards where an attempt was made to kidnap the returning officer and he escaped and appeared the following day. And said he was cancelling the results of the whole local government. Now, thank God I have here with me the report of INEC. See Donga local government, 5 polling units had issues. They are here, recorded here. Now, we have 165 polling units in that local government. What was Professor Kyari thinking about that he went ahead to cancel that?
Mr. Osman.
Yes, sir.
Does your party have any problem with the supplementary election?
We have problem with it.
Why? What is the problem?
The problem is this. This country belongs to everybody. We are laying a precedence. The elections have guidelines. as collection center at that level, you are only expected to receive results. Now, why go ahead and cancel the results of a whole local government just because the returning officer from that local government reported that he had issues with 5 polling units? And seeing that local government was won clean and clear by PDP with...
So your stand is that only results of those 5
units should be cancelled.
Well, hold on.
Cancelled.
Let's, you give this the report you brought.
Yes, this is the INEC report.
Okay. Zing had in polling unit 009 overvoting.
Yeah.
Total number of registered voters accredited, valid. There was overvoting there.
Yeah,
so that one's cancelled.
Okay.
In USA,
in fact, we have no issue with the cancellation.
In Kozatai and I can't say it's unclear, election officials ambushed, card reader snatched. In Bali, number of accredited voters exceeded the number of registered voters. Exactly. No voting took place. In Bali, that's Suntai ward. You've talked about Donga, where 5 wards.
Yes.
Now, basically, this how many local government areas had several wards that had issues. Euro,
yes.
003, overvoting. Karim Lamido, Karim 001, 002, overvoting. Andani, 007, 008, overvoting. Bakwin, 003, 004, overvoting. It's like all of them. Just like the APC is asking, 11 local government areas had issues.
Yes, they had issues. Let me tell you. Bali.
So does the APC have a right to ask for a cancellation of all?
They have no right because Donga local government, out of the of all the local governments that are affected, we have total voting strength of about 127,000. Now, out of the 127,000, 85,000 is from Donga. Are you getting me? 85,000 is from Donga. Now, we have no issues with the 5 polling units cancelled in Donga. We have no issues with even the others because there were irregularities. Whether there is overvoting, it's normal. They should cancel. We have no question. We have no problems with that. But the question we're asking is, why would Kerry sit down at the collection center and cancel results of 160 polling units because the other 5 polling units had problems? And because PDP won there. In Bali, 22 polling units were affected and the results cancelled. Yet he went ahead and announced the valid votes for Bali. Okay. Because APC won there.
Okay.
That is the issue.
Are you therefore accusing him of being partisan?
Highly partisan. It's very clear. And in fact, it's not just the partisan. I'm really worried because a person of his standing should not do such a thing in this country.
Okay. Well, we've since been joined by the Taraba State APC Chairman, Alhaji Hassan Ado, who will be speaking to us from our studios in Abuja. Good morning, Alhaji.
Good morning.
Do you think that your seeming loss, or should I say lagging behind, is a function of the fact that you had a woman as your governorship candidate? Does that have anything to do with what we're talking about?